I don't think that I've ever come across a story that fills me with such dread quite like this one. And it's not even just because these girls got lost in the wilderness. It's because when their camera was found months later, it contained these really disturbing photos taken in the dead of night, with absolutely no explanation as to why they took them. And when their remains were found a couple months after that, some of their bones looked like they had been bleached. And not to mention, they were alive somewhere in the forest while an active search was being conducted for them, yet they still suffered a terrible fate. This is the mysterious death of Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon, otherwise known as the Panama Girls. This story is incredibly disturbing, and there are no real answers, so let's talk about it. Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon were 21 and 22-year-old friends who grew up in the Netherlands. They were described as really outgoing, creative, and incredibly smart girls. Kris had just completed her studies in cultural social education with a focus on art, and Lisanne had recently graduated with a degree in applied psychology. They shared a love of volunteering and wanting to help the community, and in early March of 2014, the two moved in together in a dorm room in Amersfoort. Everyone knew they were best friends and pretty much inseparable, and they even worked at the same cafe together. Since Lisanne had just graduated, the two wanted to plan a special vacation to celebrate, so they'd been saving up for about 6 months to take a trip to Panama. They wanted to spend the time learning Spanish and volunteering at local schools in Panama to teach children arts and crafts. This was going to be such an exciting trip for them, but not long after arriving, they would disappear. And what followed, despite horrific, has never been explained. On March 15th, 2014, Kris and Lisanne arrived in Panama, and they toured the country for about 2 weeks before landing in Bouquet, Chiriquí. The girls decided to stay with the local host family while they volunteered teaching children in the community. They'd only planned to stay for about 4 more weeks, but it would soon become clear that they would never leave. On April 1st, 2014, Kris and Lisanne took the host family's dog, with their approval, and set out to hike the El Pianista Trail. They specifically wanted to hike the wilderness surrounding the Baru volcano, but before they did, the girls were last seen having brunch with 2 Dutchmen that they met while on the trip. There, they posted on Facebook that they wanted to walk around Bouquet and then go on this hike. After brunch, Kris, Lisanne, and the dog took off for said hike, never to be seen again. That night, the host family became concerned when their dog returned home safe and sound, but alone. The girls never made it back, so this is when they started looking around their home, but they found nothing. By the next day, Kris and Lisanne had missed an appointment with a local tour guide, and this is when the family knew something was horribly wrong. So they reported them missing to the police, who then took off searching for the girls. At this point, neither of the families were able to get a hold of the girls, which was odd since they talked daily. They would usually send them updates about their trip. After a few days of no contact, both of the girls' families went to Panama along with detectives from the Netherlands, and from there on, a full-scale search was conducted. This was a massive search too, involving local police, tracking dogs, and helicopters, and their focus was on the El Pianista Trail since that's where they were last known to be. This trail is known to kind of start out easy, but as you progress, it gets pretty dangerous and it's so dense and rugged.